In 2019 on PopCross Studios, I've redrawn a lot of subscriber-submitted superhero stuff. We've done their redesigns of existing superheroes, their original superheroes, supervillains, sidekicks, heck, even their spider-sonas. But in the existence of superhero kind of stuff, there's one very important category that we haven't covered yet. And in today's episode, we've finally gotten there. So let's redraw some anti-heroes.
Maximum effort.
As has been the trend for the last few months on PopCross Studios with the monthly redraw episodes, there were hundreds and hundreds of submissions sent in, and I'm a huge fan of the superhero months specifically, so anti-heroes was just, it felt like such a cool topic, and everything sent in was so cool. I wish I could have redrawn way more stuff. I got to 9 this month, but then also at the end of the episode, I'll go over some honorable mentions of ones that I wished I could have gotten to and just didn't have time. Thank you to everyone who submitted, and even if you weren't picked, I really hope you enjoy the video. Now let's get into the first redraw. First up, I felt like it would be fitting to go with a Christmassy kind of submission because, I mean, at the time I'm making this video, it's before Christmas, but at the time the video's coming out, it's after Christmas. Either way, it's around Christmas, so we're starting off with this submission by Rotund Howdy, who actually cracked the honorable mentions category in last episode, and this time we're actually redrawing the submission. And Rotund sent in this really awesome Krampus character, and it's a longer description, so let's get right into it. You better watch out, because Krampus is coming to slay. Krampus's real name is Elton Grimm, and he's a very Christmassy themed mercenary. Abandoned for being a misshapen baby, he would be saved and raised by a man named Claus Santos, aka the Toymaker. The Toymaker would build Elton his prosthetic legs and eventually construct the other gadgets Elton uses to slay. Elton mainly targets rich Scrooge snobs. He robs them blind and, more often than not, ends their life. He has a sick way of playing with his victims, being all jolly and laughing as he destroys their homes and points guns to their faces. The money he gains from his heists always goes back to the community in some way, as he donates to charities instead of spending it on himself. He simply takes pleasure in punishing the naughty boys and girls. It was a really fun fleshed out description. The drawing was super awesome. I loved the Christmassy colored goggles. The cape was really fun. I loved the design of the legs. I didn't put as much detail into them as you did, but I really, really loved your version of them, and I hope I did it justice. And even though I'm really terrible at drawing machine guns, I felt like this one was a must redraw in this episode. So thank you so much. I really hope you like my version of Krampus, and here he is. Next up, we've got a deadly toxic hero coming in from Diora. And here's what Diora had to say about this submission: the Hazzard. The Hazzard is a walking container of poisonous gases, a self-inflicted condition to ensure effective killing. She has one job only: kill those who deserve it and save those who don't. Those terms are all up to her, which is why most heroes don't associate with this proclaimed psychopath. She uses 2 guns that dispense poison from the large box on her back, which is plugged into her back to refill the tank with the never-ending supply of deadly mixture brewing inside her. She loves going after disgusting people the law can't touch, since, to her, she is beyond the law. And this one, well, it's not a Christmassy one. Maybe it drew my eye because it's Christmas colors. We got green and red, and I love that there's some glowing green both in the eyes and the tubes on her back. I don't actually end up making them that glowy in my version, but they are what drew my eye to yours in the first place. I also like the goggles, her big eyes. It's a little bit anime style looking. And because I've been experimenting with drawing skinnier characters lately, and this character's on the thinner side, I figured it would be another good one for me to take a crack at. I also decided to draw her with one of her guns out, even though, as mentioned in the last one, I'm not a huge fan of drawing guns, but, you know, it's something that I need to practice, and with anti-heroes, it was gonna be kind of impossible to avoid characters that had guns, because a lot of them tend to have guns. But anyway, Diora, this was a blast to redraw. I hope you like my version of the Hazzard. Next up, we've got a submission from Walker Frank, and it's a longer description, so I'll get right into it. All you need to know about my end of the redraw is I went a little bit Humberto Ramos inspired with the pose, wanted to make it really dynamic and punchy. But anyway, here's what Walker Frank had to say about Logan Lone Star. He He's a galactic criminal, but he doesn't deserve that title. The galactic court is crooked and broken. The government treats the people like the scum on the bottom of a shoe. Logan grew up as an orphan child, and he was a slave for most of his life. When he was caught escaping for freedom from his master, he was ruled to be sentenced to death. Logan was thrown into the pit of the Bakuga, an ancient dragon that harnesses ancient energy to rid anything that steps foot into its home. Somehow, Logan defeats the beast, but as he is landing the final blow, the Bakuga emits its dying breath on Logan. Energy surrounds Logan, creating a suit all around him, with parts glowing a bright, almost neon yellow. His suit looks almost like a symbolized or simplified Bakuga dragon was stamped onto him. Logan is now able to create temporary energy-based forms of the Bakuga and its abilities. But dying breath is also a curse. In exactly 3 years, Logan is going to die. With his new power set, he works to fight the government and restore the galaxy to galactic stability, but with no respect to the galactic court and nothing for him to lose. He will use all methods, including both the immoral and illegal, to reach his goal. Logan takes the name Ambition, as he will stop at nothing to complete his task. Then Walker also gave a description of the abilities, and I made sure to reference those as I was doing the drawing, which was super fun to draw. I love that he has sort of a sci-fi Iron Fist kind of vibe to him. He was super cool, and I loved that you had some varying line weight in your drawing of him. I was kind of drawn to that because I've been experimenting with that more lately. It was super cool, great stuff. But anyway, here's my take on Ambition. Next up, we've got a crazy cool submission coming in from Nevermore91. I loved the drawing right away, and the description just solidified it as a choice. Her name is Blaze. She is from a comic world where everyone had special powers thanks to future tech and was sort of a loser, stuck in an uneventful love until she woke up one day in a different world with almost no superpowered people in it. And she took advantage of it right from the start. She was doing good and saving people, but for a price. And of course, even working on the other side, helping villains as well. She can produce lava from the heat of her blood, and can even make parts of her body lava to move around better, though most of her body is not colored due to her coming from a book, coloring herself in as she gets attached to her new reality. And I thought that was a cool, nice, interesting addition that would be an interesting challenge to take on in the coloring and rendering stage for this one. And, you know, maybe I was just drawn to this one because it's everything I'm looking for in a woman. Big sharp teeth, terrifying grin, gigantic hands. That's my type right there. But seriously, I thought it was super cool. It felt a little bit Hazbin Hotel inspired. Maybe I was just thinking that because of the demonic, sharp-toothed grin. But it was really cool. I had a lot of fun drawing and rendering in the magma lava kind of look. I love having it drip off of her hand as if she's about to whip it at someone. It was a super cool submission, Nevermore91, and I really hope you like my take on it. Here it is. Our next drawing comes to us from Rafferty Hauser, and we've got a really cool sci-fi kind of anti-hero with a pretty boss backstory, so let's get into it. The character you see before you is known as Sevenfold. He was given that name because he both does and does not perfectly represent the 7 deadly sins. For his existence is a paradox. Sevenfold is an omnipotent being whose existence is to defend the higher existence, which is a being that, without consent, creates universes and can destroy them. Source of the multiverse. Due to the fact that universes are being endlessly made, there are also an infinite number of beings that could kill the higher existence, so it's up to Sevenfold to eliminate such beings. And Rafferty Hauser adds, this is actually a character for a book I'm writing, and in defending the higher existence, he has to go to our Earth to perform a series of events that leaves the natural order in chaos. Sounds like a super cool book. I'm excited to hear when you've got it finished. And I loved redrawing this submission. It was such a great submission because I love both the drawing and the way you laid out the submission. I think I've mentioned before, I love when people do something cool and graphic designy for the way they lay out their character to send it in. Even though I can't take the time to draw backgrounds or anything like that because I want to get through as many characters as possible in these episodes, I think it's super cool when people do it in their submissions. The whole thing just really grabbed me. I love that he looks kind of elegant, almost. He looks like a character that would pair really well in a funny contrast if he had to team up with someone like Deadpool or something like that. Like, this guy would be very direct and straight-faced, and then whoever he's with is just bouncing goofy jokes off him and whatever. I mean, that would push the story into being more of a, you know, lighthearted comedy kind of thing, which might not be what you're going for. But anyway, super fun submission. Thank you so much for sending it in, and here's my version of Sevenfold. Now the next one is really cool. We've got one sent in from Demonic King 101, and I had a blast redrawing this, but I won't talk too much about what I was doing, even though I really love how this one ends up turning out, but the description is really long, so let's just get right into that. This is Nerissa Hart, aka Damsel. She is a species known as Manarian. There's two A's, I might be saying that wrong, sorry. Born in a long-defeated imperialistic species, now banished in the deepest voids of space, Nerissa, under fear of her life, escapes her own people. Now truly alone in the galaxy that despises her people to its core, she made a key alliance with a controversial practitioner who conducted hundreds of experimental surgeries regarding synthetic genetics, skin, bones, and cosmetic alterations. The result? A chameleon-like, passable human appearance that slowly gets harder to maintain as it can start to cause incredible pain. Nerissa gave up her wings in the procedure, but still has her grasping tail, which she hides away in baggy lower wear, when assuming her more human look. When not in disguise, she reverts to something closer to how she appeared originally. Her skin changes color, feathery fur blooms around her ears, and her feet slightly elongate and change in stance. She would have finished her transformation into a complete human appearance, but perilous circumstances separated her from her ally. Alone once again, but now with promising contacts, she clawed her way up through criminal organizations, gathering resources, manpower, wealth, and most importantly, a reputation. After 15 years, she had become the head of a formidable corporation known as Hart Enterprises, specializing in merchandise and mercenary services. To maintain her reputation so that she doesn't go soft, she's still active as ever, conducting her business personally. She's grown to be naturally manipulative, ruthless, self-serving, and cunning. However, she isn't bankrupt of morals. She has sympathy for slaves, often purchasing them to either free them or properly employ them, and it helps that that's a good way to ensure a loyal workforce. It does keep going, and the rest of the description is really cool, but I think I gotta cut it off there. Thank you so much for the submission, Demonic King 101. Super cool job, really great drawing, and I hope you like my take on Damsel. Next up, we have got Slimer, sent in by Metrics. And admittedly, this was actually the last character I redrew, even though it's not the last one in this video. I came down to the end and I had just enough time to redraw one more if I picked something with a simple design that really jumped out to me, and that's when I saw Slimer, and the description really sold me on it. I mean, I like the design too, but let's do the description. This is Slimer. He's a person who slept in jello and woke up to find himself covered in goo. He went to the doctor to see if he was okay, but the doctor tried to kill him because he thought it was a failed lab experiment. Luckily, Slimer escaped. He can manipulate his shape into weapons or knives, and bullets can't affect him at all. But if he touches water, he's gone. His downside is he cannot switch back to his human form and he can't eat anything, because anything that he does eat just floats around inside him because he doesn't have a digestive system. Which means he's always hungry and he will stop in the middle of a battle to hold his non-existent stomach. Also, he can't hold anything or it'll just slide right through him. I thought it was a fun idea, a fun backstory of the Doctor just flat out trying to kill him right away. And I love a nice goopy looking character because it's really fun rendering out the sort of oozing and making things look a little bit more transparent, not using black ink, which is my normal go-to. And you can make goopy looking characters really shiny, and that's always kind of fun. And I love that the eyes are a nice high point of contrast, having a thick ring of black around them and then being white. Really makes sure you're looking at his face. And I just love the idea of drawing him getting riddled with bullets and the bullets just fly through him. So anyway, awesome submission. I hope you like my version of Slimer. Next up, coming to us on the Discord from Perry Porkcho P, we have got a super cool character named Lyrebird. I'm realizing that all the descriptions this episode are pretty long. I think I was taking that as a sign that people were putting more care and attention into their characters if they were doing longer descriptions. But the downside of that is also, you know, I can't always read the whole description in the episodes because I'm trying to keep the pace up. So I should stop rambling. Here's the description sent in by Perry. This is my submission for the anti-hero challenge, Lyrebird, a costume thief who changed her ways after accidentally stealing a deadly but childlike shape-shifting superweapon from the biggest tech company in the world. Naming the machine Beepy, aka the Talon, she now takes him on her adventures as an all-purpose toolkit, trying to teach him to be a good person while trying to find a way to make her life of crime a model one for her quote-unquote child. Lyrebird has great agility and reflexes and is very skilled at maneuvering through dangerous situations and being able to fight off foes with her very strong kicks. But her main power is to mimic any sound that she hears using her voice, which is perfect for distracting and catching someone off guard if need be. Beepy tends to stick to that armor form when on missions. If he needs to assist his mom in combat, he's able to make any kind of weapon he wants out of his body, though he lacks the restraint to be subtle, which tends to ruin Lyrebird's plans a lot. And for that, I kind of wanted to lean into the fact that Beepy doesn't like being subtle, so originally I was thinking some kind of giant cannon, but I ended up going with a gigantic fist, because I really love that. Took some inspiration from Vi from League of Legends, and overall I thought it was super fun. I love the colors. The blue of Beepy's face really draws your attention to him, and I like putting his little smile on the arm. So I hope you like my take on Lyrebird, and here it is. And our final redraw for this episode comes to us from the illustrator. It was sent in to popcrossanimations@gmail.com, and this is probably the one shorter description from the episode. Even though I just said I was doing mostly larger descriptions, this one is shorter description, but still pretty cool. For this month's community redraw, I drew my anti-hero Aries. After being a member of an illegal underground fight club, he is chosen to be a Greek god, and he becomes Aries. And he protects the world from Greek mythology threats lethally. And I'm a big fan of Greek mythology, and I love the design. It's a nice, simple one, but really cool. Feels a little bit inspired by Nova from Marvel. I like the nice big golden eyes. I think a few characters in this episode had those big, kind of gold, goggly kind of eyes. I wasn't intentionally going for that, but that is kind of a cool look. I also love your color choice for this one. Having the red background behind a character that's kind of yellowy and black can really make him look a little bit more sinister, because red can just, you know, kind of come across as an intimidating sort of color. And I love a good kind of levitation thing. I tried to do the same sort of thing with the rocks floating around the hand. Tried to turn them a little bit more into 3D space so they look like they're going like this a little bit. And I like the sort of subtle hive kind of pattern on the stomach and chest. I tried to do that pretty lightly. I probably could have made it a little bit more pronounced in my version, but it was a nice fun thing to tackle because it was another sort of line work challenge. I didn't want to do regular black lines for that because it would make it too prominent, so I tried doing it with a different brush and making it a bit more subtle. I think it sort of works out. It's not my favorite part of this redrawing. I think I like the hovering hand thing and the helmet best, but overall, it was a fun redraw. Good one to end on. Thanks so much for the submission, the illustrator. Here is my take on Aries. That feels like a good strong note to end off our 2019 community redraws and launch us into 2020. This, of course, will be the background for the next month until our next community redraw at the end of January. But of course, before we talk about what the theme of that one's gonna be, we gotta go over some honorable mentions, some really awesome drawings that were sent in that I didn't get a chance to redraw. I mean, I didn't get to redraw most, but these are some ones that really stood out that I thought I should highlight here at the end. First up, from Why Not Jack, we've got this super cool looking mech-style character named Alpha. I love the cannon on his back. I like the subtle color palette. The bit of bronze really stands out. Then from Candy Cane and Dragon, we have got this super cool creature anti-hero kind of guy. I love the line work and how some of it is black outlines and some of it is a glowy white outline. The Pokemon inspiration is really great in this one, and overall I think it's super cool. Love the proportions, by the way. Then AJ Hatchick sent in this super cool character. I love the rendering on it, and this is another one where I love the proportions both in, you know, the more normal size hand, how it's got kind of big forearms, big meaty hand, and then of course the other gigantic hand just looks super cool and menacing. Then at Greybeard Art sent in this super fun looking Granny Smith character, and I really liked having an older character kind of submitted because it was a nice change of pace. I thought this one was really fun, and I really like your cool, stylish rendering. Then we've got from Bad Dog, this character who lives in modern times but sort of plays at being a cowboy type. I really love the intense red lighting coming in from the side on the character. Super sweet looking. Love when people play with lighting. Then from Yuki Yuki is Fresh, we've got the Echo. This is one of those ones where I love the layout of the submission. We've got the color palette in the top corner. We've got a close-up on the character with her goggles on, her bigger shot with her goggles off. I like her expression and looking off to the side, her daggers. Overall, this one's super fun and cool looking. Awesome job. Then RB Snow Major. I love this one. The giant hands on this guy. I guess that is a theme with me. I really like giant hands. But I thought it was super cool. I love the axe, the pose. The hair is really great. I love the, the bandage on the nose. I always think that makes people look pretty cool. He's got nice, big, thick eyebrows, really meaty, bulky looking character, and I think it's super awesome. Now, I apologize in advance for the mispronunciation that I'm presumably doing, but Picos Materan sent in this super cool character for a comic they're making. Love the rendering on the bear, especially the face. It's a really great polar bear face. And then the character herself is super cool. I love the hair pouring in front of her eyes a little bit. She's really boss looking and looks like she could seriously do some damage on anyone she comes up against. Then from Nick Holmes, we've got the Repercussion, and I love the expression on that one of the two head drawings. It's just huge and crazy and wild. And of course, the muscle rendering is just so intense and really, really cool. Then from Mikey Godric, or at Wasabi Bones, we've got this Reaper Girl character, and she's so cool looking. I love all the zombies coming in behind her. Her scythe weapon is super cool looking. The colors are great. I love the proportions. Just super great job overall. Then Braden Bullock sent in not just this awesome drawing of the character, but also a sculpture of his bust. And I thought that was really cool looking. The green and yellow color palette's really nice, and awesome stuff on the extra level of commitment in sculpting him. Then D-Struck sent in this really cool, wild design of a character that can read minds and change people's thoughts. The pose is cool, the style is just really great. I don't even know what to call a lot of the stuff that's in this. I just thought it was super cool and really caught my eye. Great job. And finally, we've got a submission from Dusk V 2.0, a really fun, cute looking character who has some Poison Ivy style plant powers and keeps vines wrapped around her arms. This one seems super fun and like a really cool anti-hero. Thank you so much for submitting it. Along with everybody else, you all did such awesome work. As always, I'm really sorry that I can't get more people's art in these videos, but I hope you all had a lot of fun making these characters, because I had a lot of fun looking at all of them. And now for the moment of truth, January 2020's PopCross Community Redraw theme. And because we've been doing these for a year now, I want to shake things up a little bit. I'm going to change up the style of prompt a bit. Instead of doing something like superheroes or supernatural or Dungeons and Dragons, it's going to be a little bit more vague, and I want to see how people interpret it, but there's also going to be two prompts, and you have to try and follow both. The first is Scrappy. So whatever comes to you when you think of Scrappy, maybe you make a scrappy superhero or a rundown robot or maybe a beat up old car, or whatever you can think of with Scrappy. Wherever that leads you, that's totally fine. And then the second part of the prompt is kind of a challenge. I want to encourage people to experiment more with their artwork, so the second part of the prompt is line weight. And basically I want you to just do something different with your line weight than you normally would. Maybe if you always use really thin lines, try really thick lines, or if you always have consistent lines, try having a lot more variety with your line weight. Maybe if you always use black lines, use colored lines instead. I mean, that's not really line weight, but basically I just want you to experiment with your line work. So Scrappy and line weight. That's your prompt for January 2020. I'm super excited to see what people do with this because it is kind of different from what we normally do. Submission rules are in the description on this video, and in pretty much all of my videos I have a description on how to submit stuff for community redraws. But anyway, everybody, that's all for this episode. Thank you again to everyone who submitted. These community redraws have been so great. This whole year in general has been so awesome, largely because of how passionate everyone is about sending art into the channel and just the videos on this channel in general. This year has been such a blast, and I'm so excited to see where this channel goes in 2020. Wait, do I have another video going out in 2019? I might. Is Monday still? I might be messing this up. But anyway, I hope everyone had a happy holidays and a happy new year. You'll see me again in 2 days. But that's all for this episode, everybody. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you later.